Hey guys, so today I'm gonna be talking about Trump supporter and Republican Charlie Kirk. So Charlie Kirk has been a Trump supporter for a long time, for a few years. He's also against abortion rights. He also made some comments about Second Amendment rights that was pretty not sympathetic towards children have died from school shootings. But I just want to inform everyone, if in case some people still don't know, he was fatally shot today at the Utah Valley University during some type of speaking event that he was in. Why that happened, I'm not sure. I don't know who the shooter is. I'm gonna assume the shooter had an issue with Charlie Kirk's political view, potentially, which is why in this article, not laughing at him dying, but the AP News article saying how it's a political assassination. I think that's a bit of exaggeration. That was more Dr. King's situation than JFK, but uh, that's why AP News want to put at the title to kind of, you can argue, give critics, but this article is from September 10th, 2025, so today. And he has been confirmed that Trump himself made a Truth Social post on it and talked about him as well. JD Vance made comments about it. Plenty of people have made comments about this. I was not expecting this at all. This is a shock. And according to some police news report, the police explained that he was shot, I think, from 200 yards away with a rifle right in his neck. And once he was shot, the blood broke him out. And I think there was very little chance he would survive. So this was definitely first degree murder. We can say that for sure. This was not an accident. Why they did that, I'm not. Again, I don't think it's because they're against his political views, which are also his personal views about gun control laws, not caring about school shootings that cause the death of a lot of students, especially children and teachers as well. So I think that could be it, and maybe it's how he's against abortion rights. That could be possibly it, but I think it's more due to his comments about being against having more established uh, common sense gun control laws, and that will piss off a lot of people. But that happened pretty suddenly. I don't think anyone was expecting this. So the Utah governor Spencer Cox is claiming this is a political assassination, and he's going to do what he can to go after whoever shot him. I don't know who shot him. I read some police report that they already arrested a suspect. We don't know too much about the information yet. The shooter who Cox pragged would be held accountable in a state with the death penalty, wore dark clothing, and fired from a roof on campus some distance away. I'm really interested how he was able to do this without anyone noticing him on a roof on campus. I don't know where the campus security were at. I don't know if this campus has their own police. Some universities do. So I'm really surprised that he was able to get away from this so easily. Um, you would think that they will have some type of bad security to prevent anyone from just going on the roof, especially with someone like him, with his political views, could potentially cause some people to really be angry at him. So Charlie Kirk shot. So Kirk was speaking over here, and the university stated the shooter fired from the low C center, so somewhere here, right here on this roof. So this is pretty decent shot to have. So that means the guy must have been an expert rifle shooter. Again, I don't know why anyone, unless it was campus security or typical staff, would be allowed to be on the roof. I doubt it's a university employee who did this. Most likely not. But really surprised that that even happened. I'm trying to read to see if they have any more updates on the shooter, but as far as I know, he does not. The police does not. And the government didn't say really much, except that he promised Donald Trump that he will arrest him and make sure that basically they will prosecute him for, the maximum that the law allows, which probably the death penalty they're gonna look for, because this is first degree murder, so it would make sense for a state that had that penalty to probably provide that to the individual. Whether they're gonna be able to find him immediately, I'm not sure, but they caught suspect, so we'll see. So there was some signatures of students who requested Kirk to come in. almost 1,000 signatures. So those school just going by the First Amendment rights to have him there. So I think that was okay. They can do that. I understand why people want to do that. So there's some Democrats who also saying this was bad. Gavin Newsom from Cali, the governor of Cali, said that. It's not just Republicans who are saying that. There are other Democrats also in other states who've been talking about this. This is probably going to be happening a lot more often, considering that Trump kind of opened the bag of worms with how violent and aggressive he has been, with the National Guards going to states and basically allowing over 1,000 insurrectionists to get away with committing insurrection. So I think the violence is only going to get worse. And I don't think it's just going to be Republicans getting killed. I think it's also going to be Democrats getting shot. This already been happening anyway, like what happened with Pelosi's husband, among other Democrats in their own state legislature who are being shot and killed. So this is not just an attack on conservatives or Republicans. It's been happening a lot since Trump ran his campaign last year in 2024 and when he won, and it's just been getting more and more violent. It could be the start of something like a civil war if this keeps happening, which is not what we want. Now, in this video, I just want to quickly talk about a quote that Charlie Kirk made, which I think this could be the reason why it pissed off potentially the shooter and probably many other people. Charlie Kirk said back in April 6, 2023, basically when this person posted, Jason Campbell, this is from X.com, which is Twitter. It's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment. Cook said that. So I'm gonna play the video so you guys can hear from his own mouth, which I think that pissed off a lot of people, which is again probably why this happened. The way he described it was very insensitive, and I think that probably could be the reason why someone went after him.
Be real. You must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price, and that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year.
A lot of these things can be prevented though. So when we have these conservatives who say those things come with a price, it's very preventative. Gun violence, especially mass shootings, even more so in school grounds, are very preventative. We've seen what other countries have done. It doesn't mean you take away all guns, but you can definitely prevent people with mental illnesses from being able to own a gun. And most mass shootings are technically conducted by white men or white teenage boys. So it's one particular group and one particular race of individuals keep conducting live mass shootings because where they live, they can easily have accessibility to obtain a gun. And a lot of men, in particular white men, seem to have high levels of mental illnesses, and that could be part of the reason why they maybe choose violence because they can maybe differentiate a better way to differentiate why that using violence to deal with the mental illness is not a good thing, but that's is a sad situation.
That's a price. You get rid of driving, you have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen.
The problem with what he's saying is that yes, we know that you cannot get gun deaths to zero, just like you can get with uh, people dying from car accidents to zero. But there are ways to prevent the number of people dying from car accidents. Better technology, making sure that people who have a license are actually able to drive properly. They don't have mental condition, mental illness that prevent them from driving correctly. Gun can be the same. A lot of times, just having proper common sense background checks to make sure people are mentally healthy enough to own a gun will reduce a lot of these mass shootings from happening. So it's not that Democrats are saying get rid of guns. They're saying we don't want to get rid of guns. We just want to have a better way to prevent gun deaths. And that's the way to do it, is making sure that if someone has mental illnesses, mental something that prevents them from mentally be able to own a gun safely for themselves and around others, they shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. I think that's safe to say. What Trump is doing is claiming that transgender people should not be allowed to own a gun because he thinks that transgender people have mental illness, even though they're not the ones conducting mass shootings. When you look at the statistics, it's usually white men and boys who are conducting majority of mass shootings. So if he wants to target a group, it would make more sense to look at why all these white men and boys committing all these mass shootings for the most part, and he's not doing that. So why going after the population that is only about I think 1% or less of the entire U.S. population doesn't really make sense.
We can significantly reduce that. There are more fathers in the home by having more armed guards in front of schools.
That's also incorrect. Men are known to commit more domestic violence or intimate partner violence towards women and the kids. So actually having a father home does not reduce the chance potentially of someone being mass shooter necessarily in a significant level. In some cases, they can actually make it worse, especially people who have domestic violence, intimate partner violence situation. And in terms of having armed guards in school grounds, that's not always effective. We saw what happened in Texas, Uvalde situation with the Uvalde Police Department didn't do crap when there was a mass shooter killing a bunch of kids and teachers. And instead of just going inside the school, there were several dozen of them. They kept waiting around and only focused on saving their own kids and let a bunch of other people's kids die. Even though there's literally trained cops to handle situations like that. So armed security is not going to resolve that issue. This is not going to the root cause of mass shootings. So it's not really logical. And there's scientific research demonstrating what is the root cause of mass shooting. Part of it is economics, financial reason. People depressed or desperate because they don't have the money to afford the medications, which then equates to their mental illness getting worse, and that can contribute further to mass shootings. Mental illness is part of it too. It's usually financial and health, mental health uh, factors why a lot of mass shootings happen. Not so much that there's no father in the family, or because there are not enough armed security in school grounds, for instance. That's a very conservative talk that's not accurate in terms of science.
We should have a honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society with armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun. That is nonsense. It's drivel.
Yeah, but Democrats are not saying that. Democrats just want to pass common sense gun control laws, not to remove guns or to eliminate gun that's 100%. That's obviously not realistic.
But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have the cost of unfortunately some gun deaths every year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God given rights.
So that's coming out of his mouth. He did say that quote, which I think that contributed to a lot of people hating him. And for all we know, the shooter who killed him could have been planning this for maybe a couple of years or so.
That is a prudent deal. It's rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. So how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, "Oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings?" I don't know. How do we stop shootings at baseball games? Because we have armed guards outside of baseball games. That's why.
Yeah, it's really dumb. His logic is just have armed guards that will resolve everything. That's not how it works. A lot of mass shootings happen at parks, stores, neighborhoods, communities. It's not just simple fact that oh, it's a rich organization. They're gonna have armed security that will resolve it. That's not gonna resolve for a lot of schools that don't have the money to have armed security. The towns don't have the money for that. The state doesn't have the money for that, and that wouldn't really resolve the root cause of mass shootings.
How do we stop all the shootings at airports? We have armed guards outside of airports. How do we stop all the shootings at banks? We have armed guards outside of banks. How do we stop all the shootings at gun shows? Notice there's not a lot of mass shootings at gun shows. There's all these guns. Because everyone's armed.
So that's basically what I want to show what he said, so that people will have an idea, and to also make sure that you understand that this is not just coming from purely a random shooting. I think this was personal. I think the person who shot him had a hatred towards him because of his statements about potentially how he doesn't care about really having proper gun control laws. You can tell his solution is just have more armed security. but never discussing about implementation of proper criminal background checks and mental health checks on who wants to own a gun everywhere in every single state in the country and U.S. territories. But at least if they do mainland U.S. and all the states, all the 50 states, we could fix a lot of this issue just by having criminal background checks mandatory in every state, along with mandatory mental health checks. So a person has to be checked to make sure they don't have depression, they don't have a history of uh, violence, nothing like that. Could resolve a lot of the issues that happen. But again, I just want to point out that I think someone who did this had a personal agenda. Not saying it's inside political assassination, but definitely he said a lot of things that will piss off millions of people, millions. So this was not something I was expecting, but at the same time, violence had been increasing and hatred towards certain individuals have been causing a lot of these shootings. So I just want to say, be careful out there. Make sure you're careful what you say, and keep in mind that just because you have money does not mean you're gonna be safe from mass shooting or someone trying to assassinate you or kill you or murder you. It's not that hard considering that this country makes it super easy for anyone to obtain a gun, even when you do it illegally. It's not that hard. But let me know in the comment section what you guys think about the situation about Charlie Kirk, and if you agree with his mentality about just having armed security on school grounds and in other areas, or if you think we should have more common sense gun control law that includes criminal background check and mental health check. And if something happens where you have maybe a violent criminal history or you have a lot of mental issues, conditions, mental health problems that will prevent you from really be able to have a gun safely around you and others, then let's talk about that. But anyway, if you like this video, like and subscribe before I just TikTok files on TikTok and you can support us on Patreon. All right, guys, have a good night.